Assalamualaikum. Today I wanted to bring your attention to a small and powerful dua, which is Hasbun Allah wa ni'mal wakil, which means Allah is sufficient for me, and He is the best disposer of affairs. It's a dua when said brings comfort to the heart, knowing that if you are going through a trial or not, that all times, whatever Allah has decreed to happen, you are happy with the outcome, for in Surah 8:30, Allah is the best of planners. When Allah mentioned this dua in the Quran right after good news always seems to follow and away with whatever harm. We see this in Surah Al-Imran ayat 173, those to whom hypocrites said, "Indeed the people have gathered against you, so fear them." But it increased them in faith, and they said, "Sufficient for us is Allah, and the best disposer of affairs." Following that ayat then says, "And without finding any harm, they gained great prosperity and goodness from Allah and achieved His pleasure. Allah is a great giver." Another example is when Prophet Ibrahim was being bound and shackled before being thrown into the fire. The angel Jibril came to him. "O Ibrahim, do you have any need?" he asked. "Yes, but not from you." The wicked unbelievers devised a catapult by which Prophet Ibrahim was hurled into the midst of the roaring fire. However, before he was flung, his last words were, "Hasbun Allah wa ni'mal wakil," stated by Ibn Abbas. Allah, the Lord of creation, guardian and protector of believers, commanded, "O fire, be coolness and safety upon Ibrahim." Surah Al-Anbiya ayat 69, and no harm was done to him, and the ropes which bond him burn off. So once again we see where this powerful dua was said and right after harm was sent away. However, scholars and ulama mention a common denominator with this verse, that Allah is not someone you rely on when no one else is there for you. Allah is someone you rely on even when everything is going good, and to rely on Allah you need faith, which is not just about believing in something. It's about having the courage to trust in that belief, to hold on to it, even when everything else seems to be falling apart. It's about finding hope in the face of despair, finding strength in the face of weakness, and finding light in the face of darkness. Indeed, faith plays an integral role in our lives, providing us with a sense of purpose and direction. It's a beacon of hope in a world often shrouded in uncertainty, a source of strength in a world often fraught with challenges, and a guiding force in a world often lost in chaos. Let me share with you a story, a personal journey of struggle and enlightenment. I once found myself in a situation where the world seemed to turn its back on me. Everything I thought I knew, everything I believed in, seemed to crumble around me. I was in the grip of a storm, a tempest that was tearing at the fabric of my life, ripping apart the stability I had taken for granted. I remember feeling a profound sense of despair. It was as if I was adrift in a vast, unforgiving sea, the waves of uncertainty crashing over me, threatening to pull me under. I felt helpless, a tiny speck in the grand scheme of things, swallowed up by the magnitude of the world's indifference. The weight of my predicament bore down on me with such force that I could hardly breathe. I felt like I was sinking, drowning in a sea of doubt and confusion. In those moments of despair, hope seemed like a distant memory. I felt disconnected from the world, from myself, and from any sense of purpose or direction. The road ahead seemed treacherous and uncertain, fraught with obstacles I was ill-equipped to navigate. I felt cornered, trapped in a maze of worry and fear, with no clear path to follow, no light at the end of the tunnel. I was in the throes of a crisis that transcended the physical world. It was a spiritual crisis, a crisis of the soul. I found myself questioning everything, my beliefs, my values, my very existence. It was a tumultuous period, a time of deep introspection and self-doubt. I felt as though I was standing on the edge of an abyss, teetering on the brink of despair. The world as I knew it had lost its color. The vibrancy of life had been replaced by a dull gray hue. I felt as if I was walking through a fog, unable to see more than a few steps ahead. I was lost in a labyrinth of my own making, a prisoner of my own thoughts and fears. I was besieged by a sense of loneliness that was almost palpable. I felt isolated, cut off from the rest of the world. It was as if I was standing on the outside, looking in, a silent observer of a world that was moving on without me. But perhaps what was most painful was the feeling of being lost. I was adrift in a sea of uncertainty, with no compass to guide me, no anchor to hold me steady. I was unsure of where I was heading, unsure of where I belonged. I was caught in a whirlwind of confusion and uncertainty, and I felt completely out of control. In the midst of this struggle, I felt completely lost, unsure of where to turn. In this dark time, there was a beacon of light, my faith in Allah. Imagine standing at the edge of a precipice, staring into an abyss of uncertainty. It's in these moments of despair that the turning point often reveals itself. It's when we find ourselves in the depths of struggle that our faith in Allah becomes our guiding light, our beacon in the darkness. We all face moments of difficulty in our lives, times when we feel lost, when we feel like the world is against us. But it's in these moments that we can make a choice. We can choose to let the darkness consume us, or we can choose to turn to Allah for guidance and strength. When we turn to Allah, we're not just asking for help. We're acknowledging that we can't do it alone. We're admitting that we need His guidance, His wisdom, His strength, and in doing so, we're surrendering our struggles to Him, trusting that He will guide us through. Turning to Allah is not an act of desperation, but an act of faith. It's a decision to believe that no matter how dark things seem, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It's a choice to believe that no matter how big our problems, Allah is bigger. Turning to Allah is a process. It's not a one-time event, but a journey. It involves daily prayer, constant remembrance of Allah, and a commitment to trust in His plan, even when it doesn't align with ours. It's about recognizing that the ultimate control lies with Allah. It's about understanding that our problems are not bigger than Allah. They are simply a part of His grand plan for us. Turning to Allah does not mean that our problems will magically disappear, but it does mean that we won't have to face them alone. It means that we'll have Allah by our side, guiding us, strengthening us, and helping us to navigate our way through the darkness. In my darkest hour, it was my faith in Allah that provided solace and hope. And in this journey, I discovered a profound truth: Allah is enough. It's a simple statement, yet it carries a universe of meaning. This realization can be a turning point, a moment of enlightenment that changes everything. It's the kind of understanding that can bring a deep and abiding peace to your soul, a contentment that is beyond words. Imagine a glass. Empty, it's just a vessel. But fill it with water, and it becomes something more. It's not just a glass anymore. It's a glass of water. It has purpose, it has meaning. In the same manner, when we fill our hearts with the love of Allah, we are not just empty vessels anymore. We are filled with purpose, with meaning. We are complete because Allah is enough. This realization that Allah is enough, it's not just a concept, it's an experience. It's a feeling of being held, of being loved unconditionally, of being protected and guided. It's the comfort of knowing that no matter what happens, Allah is there. And that is enough. You see, we live in a world that constantly tells us we are not enough. We need more money, more success, more likes, more validation. But the truth is, these things are fleeting. They can't give us the peace and contentness we crave. That can only come from within, from the understanding that Allah is enough. When we truly understand this, it transforms us. It changes how we see ourselves and the world around us. We no longer seek validation from external sources because we know that we are enough just as we are, because Allah is enough. We no longer chase after worldly success because we understand that true success lies in our connection with Allah. This transformation is not a one-time event. It's an ongoing journey. Each day, we choose to remind ourselves of this truth, that Allah is enough. We choose to live in this understanding, to let it guide our thoughts, our actions, our decisions, and each day, we find a little more peace, a little more contentment. This journey may not always be easy. There will be moments of doubt, moments of struggle. But hold on to this truth. Allah is enough. When the world seems overwhelming, remember this. When you feel lost and alone, remember this. When everything seems to be falling apart, remember this. Allah is enough. So, let's embrace this understanding. Let's fill our hearts with the love of Allah and let it guide us. Let's find peace and contentment in the knowledge that Allah is enough. Because in the end, it's not about what we have, it's about who we have. And we have Allah. And Allah is enough. The understanding that Allah is enough brought a profound sense of peace and contentment. This is not just a personal experience, it's a universal truth. It's a gift that is available to all of us. So let's embrace it. Let's live it. Let's be it. Because Allah is enough. This realization was not just a moment of enlightenment, but a call to action. A profound understanding that unfolded, not just in the heart, but in the daily routines, the interactions, the very way of life. When one truly comprehends that Allah is enough, it becomes more than an abstract concept. It translates into our attitudes, our actions, our choices. Our reliance on Allah increases, and we begin to see life through a different lens. The everyday mundane tasks become acts of worship. The daily grind, no longer just a means to an end, but a path to spiritual growth. The chores, the work, the responsibilities, they all take on a new meaning. Each one becomes an opportunity to draw closer to Allah, to demonstrate our trust in Him. And what a beautiful change it is, to wake up each morning not burdened by the worries of the world, but embraced by the peace that comes from relying on Allah, to navigate through the day, not driven by fear or anxiety, but propelled by faith. With this realization, we begin to see the blessings in everything, even in the challenges. We understand that every situation is a means for us to grow, to learn, to strengthen our connection with Allah. We see the beauty in the struggle, the wisdom in the trials, the love in the tests. And so, we learn to surrender, to let go of the reins of control and hand them over to Allah. We learn to trust Him with our lives, our dreams, our hopes and fears. We find solace in His plan, comfort in His wisdom, peace in His love. And the result? A life filled with tranquility, a heart at peace, a soul content. Even amidst the chaos of the world, we find serenity, we find purpose, we find joy. With Allah being enough, life took on a new sense of purpose and tranquility. And so we move forward, with faith in our hearts and trust in Allah, knowing that He is indeed enough. Looking back, it's clear how much of a difference faith can make. As we reach the end of our journey together today, let's take a moment to reflect on the ground we've covered. At the heart of it all, we've seen how the essence of faith, the belief in the unseen and the unflinching trust in Allah, can be a guiding light in our lives. It's a powerful force, one that can transform our perspective, lift our spirits, and fill our hearts with tranquility. We've explored the struggles we often face in life, the trials and tribulations that can feel overwhelming. It's during these times that our faith can feel tested. Yet, it's also during these times when we feel as though we're at the edge of our endurance, that turning to Allah can bring us the most profound relief. Remember, Allah does not burden a soul beyond its capacity. Every hardship we face is within our ability to endure. And it's through these hardships, these tests of our faith, that we can grow stronger, that we can deepen our connection with Allah. This is the transformative power of faith. We've discussed the concept that Allah is enough. This is a profound belief, a belief that can bring peace and contentment to our lives. Allah is our provider, our protector, our guide. When we truly believe that Allah is enough, we understand that we don't need to stress over the materialistic aspects of this world. We don't need to worry about what we have or what we lack, because with Allah, we have everything. Faith is not just about belief, though. It's also about action. It's about living our lives in a way that reflects our faith, in a way that honors Allah. It's about turning to Allah in good times and in hard times, trusting in His plan and striving to be the best we can be. So, as we reflect on our own faith journey, let's remember the power of faith. Let's remember that faith can guide us through the darkest times, that it can bring light into our lives. Let's remember that faith is not just about belief, but also about action. And most importantly, let's remember that Allah is enough. In this life, we will face challenges. We will face hardships. We will face moments of doubt. But when we have faith, when we truly believe that Allah is enough, we can face these challenges with strength and peace. So as we move forward, let's carry these lessons with us. Let's strive to strengthen our faith, to deepen our connection with Allah, and to live our lives in a way that honors Him. May we all find the strength and peace in the understanding that Allah is enough.